Hello and welcome to this week's video from a very wet wood, and I can categorically say that this is the wettest it's ever been. And the amount of times I've slipped coming down here, it's almost to a point where you just can't stop. Once you slip, you can't stop. You have to be very careful. So it's probably the last place that any idiot should be doing any filming while walking along. Well, I thought today, in between showing you lovely views of woods, I only have one hand because the other is full of tools. So I come to you today as from my position of keeper of the paths. Now, today's video is going to be about my musical journey. Now, it was helpful that I've got some composers in the family, notably William Baines, worth checking out for the unusual piano music, and also the play Welcome to Flamborough, Goodnight Flamborough, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but one morning I woke up and I'd left the radio on all night and there was a play going on. It was a bit too early to be woken up. It was either a Saturday morning or a Sunday, and I didn't really want to wake up. It's possibly a Sunday. I woke up and just heard sort of the last, maybe not even a minute of this play. And as I sort of came fully awake, and I thought to myself, I bet that's about William Baines. I just had a feeling, well, I had a feeling I'd know who it was about. No, not, or have some deep connection with. And then they said, at the end, the announcer said that it was about William Baines. I was like, what? I knew it. I just knew it. Whether subconsciously in my sleep I'd heard it mentioned and my subconscious brain had gone, oh, this is about you, Mark. So I have him in the family, and also a composer, orchestra conductor, Sydney Baines, who was involved in the BBC, Drury Lane, and the other place in Drury Lane, theatre. Oh, I can't think of its name right now. But he did that for many years, as well as during the First World War. Had there been charts at the time, at some point he would have been #1 with his tune The Destiny Waltz, which was very popular at that time, and obviously only sheet music could be bought. You couldn't buy records back then. I've since heard it played by the Russian military orchestra, which was quite strange. And that amazing sound of water. But apparently he wrote a series of about 7 of these particular waltzes, and the Destiny Waltz was the most popular. So for a time he was very well known in music circles. And my mum had said to me that you know, when she used to go and visit the family in London, that they seemed to be rather well off. So I'm guessing that that was why. I remember being at the first house that we lived in Devizes, which has a coincidental story attached to it, which I'll do another time. It's quite funny, so be on the lookout for that one. Just thinking about it makes me laugh. And my mother had the radio on, so I must have been about 2 or 3. Because of the house we were in and the fact that I was with my mother, so I'm guessing my brother wasn't quite born then, so that makes me about 2 or 3. And I heard this music and I, ooh, something happened, because I remember it, because we were in the kitchen, and I remember the kitchen quite well, vividly almost. And that was Unit 4+2 and a song called Concrete and Clay. So that dates me, doesn't it? But I did like it. It was an unusual beat. It was a bossa nova beat, is it? I'm not very good with beats. And I remember asking my mum what it was, and it opened my eyes, and I started to I don't know, change something in me. Hey, things I do for you. God, this is really hurting. I'm trying to carry gloves. I should have brought a bag, shouldn't I? But no. That's how dangerous it is in here. This wet is destroying a lot of wood. Anyway, we're heading down this path, and we'll be coming back the way of that noise. But I may have finished the video by then. Well, the next thing that happened was that I remember, I mean, obviously music was a part of our lives because my father was interested in music. He was really interested in classical music. Our path here is blocked, so there's a Scrabble here plus some stuff to clear. So he brought a bit of music to us as well because he was interested. Now I don't remember much about whether he had stuff playing or anything like that. But I do remember him getting a record player, and I still have the amplifier today. I remember we going out and getting it. It was a big thing at the time. Well, I bet that looks a lot different now. Well, actually, keep that in mind about the music system. because before that music system we had one of those, I think they called them a phonograph back then, where you had to put a lever across and you could play multiple records if you wanted to, which meant you had to stack them one on top of the other, which is possibly why a lot of old records are scratched to pieces. But I wouldn't advocate doing that if you can help it. Ooh, look at that in there with all the moss on it. So we had that one, and then came an interesting development. Well, the interesting development was that one day our mother, my mother, mine and my brother's mother, came back with a couple of 7-inch records, which were by Pinky and Perky, because that was a children's thing. Not that we had a television and ever watched anything like that. I'm working as we go. I've just kicked that off the path, and we're now heading to a bit of a view before going down there. One of them was Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, sung by Pinky and Perky, and the other was Coco, which is a sweet song, an early sweet song. The other one, I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't any songs that interested us. But that was interesting. The other thing that I actually forgot to mention is my mother was a singer, just in choirs, and she used to go around all kinds of places, old people's homes, churches, well, you name it. She went off singing. That's basically what she did, and she was a good singer. So I grew up with my mother singing all the time, washing up singing, doing the laundry singing. So, well, looks like the weather's closing in. But we're going down here. Where? Down here. What? Oh yeah. Look at this. Luckily there's steps, but I still have to be careful. And there's a view out over the gate. Hello, woodpecker. Hopefully you'll forgive me for not making eye contact with the camera. And then, you see, Pinky and Perky didn't really do it for me, because I wanted real songs by real bands with real guitars. Now, bearing in mind that we did not have a television, so all our information for music came from the radio and what was called pick of the pops, which was basically the top 40 on a Sunday night from 4 o'clock until 7, where they played every song that was in the top 40 and which we would listen to religiously, and our parents had it on religiously on a Sunday night to listen to the charts, which is a fantastic thing to have done for us, I think. So from that we got into bands like Sweet, particularly Mud, T-Rex, and a few others, including the unmentionables. Did I enjoy my strange dance? Well, not really, but I did it anyway. So my first love from that time is actually Sweet. But I used to get my brother to buy Sweet records when we could, and I'd get the other ones because I knew the other people that I knew weren't interested in those. So I wouldn't be able to tape them. But that's another story. So I'll just deal with those two. That's what we've come down. That was quite a feat. Now we've just come from up there. I mean, it's gonna head down there. I'm not going to go that way, but if I was to, I'd come to a waterfall. And then, what happened in 1977, the Christmas of 1977, was that for Christmas, my brother and I were bought a mono tape recorder. A Panasonic even, with a condenser microphone and a pack of 10 tapes, Curry's C60 in fact. Which I remember vividly because it was a really important thing, because what that meant was we could start to record things from the radio, and we could record our own things, which was very crucial. Now, just before this, just after the Pinky and Perky and before the cassette player, my brother and I, well, my brother had been bought a toy guitar for one Christmas. So what we used to do is we'd make some drums out of Lego. Yeah, Lego, that's right, Lego. And I would play the guitar and he would play the drums. Or vice versa, I can't remember which way round we did it. And we would sing some of the tunes of the day. One that I was particularly keen on was Leo Sayers' When I Need You, which I didn't know the words to, I just worked out some words and then made the others up. And what we used to do is we used to perform for the babysitters when our mother was out doing her singing practice or singing gigs, which I'm sure they must have laughed at afterwards. One thing that I missed out during this was that between the Pinky and Perky and Sweet came novelty records like Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool and Ernie, the Fastest Milkman in the West. So it was sort of getting on for normal, and I suspect that these were the kind of normal records that we were allowed, because you've got to remember, back at that time, you know, having long hair or anything like that was seen as really subversive and dodgy. So anything that was different, and well, rock probably and arguably wasn't even 10 years old then. Yeah, really. I found Badger Hole. Look how green it is. There's another Badger Hole a bit down here. Can you see that one? So with our newfound ability to be able to record things for ourselves and record things off the radio, we proceeded to get into music. And we started off sort of possibly what you call light rock, which didn't take long before it turned into heavy rock, because I liked the sound of an overdriven guitar. An overdriven, distorted guitar, probably down-tuned, is something that speaks to my soul and still does today. Can you hear the water? Incredible, isn't it? And there's a view out there. Well, I'm going to cut some of those, and there we are, some animal dwelling of some kind or other. Crucial to this stage of my musical development was my friend Gary, who I'm still friends with today, and who we met each other in the dinner queue at school at lunchtime. So not many better places to meet, are there? And we struck off a friendship that's lasted for years, obviously. Because I'm not still 12, even though I was 11 when we met, but you know, you get my point, don't you? So he's in the next stage of musical development. Well, the next bit, I can't remember the chronological order, but we both started to discover music in our various ways, and eventually we started buying records. And one night, Gary used to skive school quite a lot and forge his mother's signature, and what he would do, because he got more pocket money than I did, I got very little, in fact. So he would go into town and come back with a record. And one particular day, and I have told the story before, but I will tell it now. I'm going to leave this bit. This is too involved for today. So I'm going to head up here. I mean, look at this. One that crashed down earlier, came down here somewhere. Anyway, it was one evening, it was 4:30, I remember that. And I got a phone call on a landline, because this is a time, you've got to remember, when we didn't have phones, we didn't have computers, we couldn't just type a name and click on a button and get some music. We had to seek it out. Anyway, he rang me up all excitedly and was insistent that I go round now. And it was a heavy storm, really torrential rain and a heavy storm. Well, I'm sure you can guess what's coming. I mean, it sounds like I've made this up, but it's true. So off I ran in this torrential rain and storm amid claps of thunder, because fortunately he lived just up the road, literally. So I could get there in a couple of minutes if I ran. So I did, and knocked on the door, and he opened it really quickly and ushered me in, really with the utmost of speed, Frodo. And we went into the back room, where his JVC record player was, and there was an album sleeve, a record on the turntable, and a sleeve with a picture of a Bruegel painting that looked dark and torturous and full of the evil of medieval. And he said, yeah, quiet, shush, listen to this. And he put it on, and it was very hard to distinguish between the sound of the rain outside and the thunder outside, with the sound of the rain and the thunder coming through the speakers. And then all of a sudden the speakers erupted with this incredible note, followed by another incredible note. And that moment was the most pivotal, that moment was the most pivotal moment of my teenage years. And I had to rush home and get a tape and record it, along with a few songs from the best of Uriah Heep. I think the night did sound like this. So then what happened was that we would spend our spare time collecting records. Now, the first record that I ever bought with my money, and I say my money as opposed to my mother buying it, was that I saved up some money, and my uncles said, well, you need the Shadows. So I went out and bought the Shadows 20 Golden Greats, which I still have. Not the original, I rebought it from memory. And which you can see in my first 5 albums or something. I can't remember what it's called. And my friend Gary bought the Wombles. The best of the Wombles, I don't know what it was called. And we bought that from a place that no longer exists called Woolworths. Well, because they used to sell records that were cheap, because they were obviously licensed to a certain company like Fame for a bit. And I can't remember any of the other ones, but you know, they would have cheaper versions of albums, so sometimes we used to get our records from there. Now, during this early period of music, keeping an eye out for this tree's come down recently, sadly, but that one will have to be just stomped over. Wow, so many channels of water through here. Got to figure out which way to go. I'm going to stay on this side, I think. In these early days, whenever Mother went out to practice the Operatic Society, because she used to do acting and dancing as well as singing. We would get Gary over and he would play the biscuit tins, saucepans, saucepan lids and chairs, while me and my brother would play a guitar. Well, I had my father's floating bridge guitar, which I put some strings on and tuned it down so it became a bass. And what we would try to do, although my brother was probably the only real musician in the place, that's not the case now, we would try and imitate some of the songs we liked. I would be on bass and vocals, and one of the other things that we found, oh, it's incredible, was that my father had a reel-to-reel player. And what we noticed, trying to figure out how to get out of here, what we noticed was that if you put a microphone in it and set it up in a certain way, you could get feedback. And we would use that feedback as if it was a signal generator, and that would enable us to play Silver Machine by Hawkwind, which again, I didn't know the words, I just made them up, although admittedly they're probably some of the easier words. And then we'd even design album covers, name albums. I can't even remember if we wrote our own songs. That bit is a bit sketchy, no doubt, like some of our songs. There we go for part one of my musical journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Check out the links below. If you want to donate, PayPal is being difficult, so the best way is to join Patreon. And you could just sign up and do a one-off donation if you want. Let me know if you do that, and because that way I can actually get paid and get some money. Because what I've been doing, I've been clearing the paths of the wood while I've been filming this tale. And don't forget to share with your friends and your enemies if you really want to get to them. And I'll see you next time. Ta-da!